God healed me, God redeemed me, and He restored my marriage. And it's unbelievable because I'm still going through it and it still blows my mind. Hi, my name's Tiedemann. It's my wife,
Laura
Tiedemann. We've been together
14
years, been married 9 years. Got married on my birthday, August 22nd. We have 3 awesome kids. Kylie, she's 12. She was born on December 1st. We have Cadence, she's 10, born on December 31st. And then Tiedemann, my son, he's 5. Our son. I was born and raised on a Tuscarora Indian reservation. My parents moved me and my older brother and my little brother and little sister off the reservation due to some family issues. That's when I first met Laura. She was trying to pursue me for one of her friends.
Yes.
And
guilty.
Turned into a romance there. And I knew right away that we were going to be together for a while. I knew we were going to be together for a while.
Took me a while to say yes.
Yeah. It was never ending. I was initiating everything, and it seemed to translate into our marriage too.
14 years later.
Yeah.
I was raised by my parents. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, 1 younger, 3 older. My mother passed away 2 months before our wedding in 2009, and my dad has been gone for about 3 years now.
We've gone through everything as far as relationship-wise. Everything's been thrown at us. Everything and anything you can think of that was there to destroy us, to wreck us, to split us apart. We've gone through it. It's the reservation. You're introduced to drugs and crime and just everything and anything so early on at an early age. Drinking, being drunk, being around drunks was just a normal thing. A lot of people try to shield their kids from it. That was just a part of life for my family. That was just everything. It was just part of life. Just started smoking pot around 11, 12 years old. I was first picked it up when my uncle finished smoking a joint and flicked it out the window, and I ran outside, picked it up, and started smoking it for the first time. It's different on the res. Anyone that grew up on the reservation knows that it's different. The schooling's different. Your family life's different. You have different. What you think is right and wrong is totally different than people outside of the reservation that think right and wrong. My grandma, she always just kept faith and just kept looking on the lighter side of everything. She always knew there was a light at the end of a tunnel. There always was. So she would just keep her faith, keep going. And she kept a lot of us together, a lot of us in line and a lot of us in check. We would go there anytime we needed to. You just walk right in, don't even knock on a door, and it was funny because if you heard someone knock on a door, the first thing you'd do is look out the window to see who's there, because it was odd for someone to knock on a door, because it was, growing up out there, it was just, you walked in, you never knocked on a door. And you open a door and you just yell grandma and you'd hear her voice. But we knew that her faith and positivity in God would help with just so much in the family. It helped transform and keep faith, not even faith, just it kept the glue. She kept the glue in our family, just kept it together. She always kept us all together. She kept us as a rock. She kept her faith in God no matter what. She had a little booklet. I still have it in my Bible today. I kept it. I keep it there. It's she had these scriptures just ready. She had a scripture number, and then she wrote stress next to it. Scripture number, sadness, whatever you needed, she was right there and ready and had it flipped open in her Bible. Our whole trailer park was all related. We were all friends, cousins. All of us were related. So it was just natural that we all hung out. You know, my best friend was my cousin. So we all hung out together, and there was an incident that happened. My uncle ended up getting in an altercation with his girlfriend at the time, and there was words exchanged, lies thrown around everywhere. You know, things happened. There was people amping up other people. They're all drunk and high, and ended up coming down to my uncle. Ended up getting in an altercation with one of my uncle's girlfriend's family members, and he ended up pulling out a shotgun. The gun went off, and it actually ended up killing our cousin, my cousin Dustin. Ended up shooting him, killing him. Fell outside the car. This was a really, 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 really weird, sad, tragic time in our family that just absolutely split my family in half. Even just being at that young, I was only like 13 or 14, but just even at that young of age, it just had so many repercussions that just came down on all of us. All of us. We moved off the reservation. That was supposed to be a clean new start. Um, that was where I met Laura, of course. I excelled in my sports down there. Really started getting focused on working out and stuff. That was probably my first introduction to steroids. I was on steroids my senior year. I broke my hand my senior year. So I felt like I was behind the ball on a lot of stuff. I really, really, I was covered in tattoos too when I went to school. So it was a lot of the teachers and stuff that I was more older than what I was. I carried myself different. Going from Wheatfield to Wilson was a big transition for me. It was different for me to handle as far as fighting, just trouble in general, just everything, drugs. It was totally different. It was a really, really, really different atmosphere for me to go into. High school was on and off as far as going up and down, you know, the highs, the lows. I probably wouldn't have graduated if it wasn't for Laura. She helped me with schoolwork and stuff, kept me focused, kept me pushing on. I was smart, but I didn't focus myself enough to be able to, I didn't focus myself to be up to my potential, I guess you could say. So I focused more on school, or on sports and lacrosse and stuff. So I had schools looking at me for lacrosse and football. Really pushed myself in lacrosse. Lacrosse was a big thing. I was a natural born leader. I was captain of all three, every sport I played I was captain of, basically. I always looked at the bigger picture. I always wanted to coach too. Coaching was a big thing for me. Junior year, when I first moved down there, I was messing with, I had pain pills here and there. Who doesn't? I mean, if they're, a lot of the kids now that play sports, they all know what they are. It's just comes with the territory, I guess you could say, because you get hurt. A few of us were on, you know, the steroids, and then it'd be nothing to snort coke before a game, you know, just to get amped up and really go for it. That was like the real introduction into super heavy drugs, consistent drugs. Drug use was the painkillers for me, even when I was 17, 18 years old. Broke my ankle, broke my hands numerous times, concussions. At that time, it was just so easy to get them too, and it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess you could say, because I was playing sports, and it was just like, I took them as needed, you know. I didn't take them as like abusing them, I guess you could say. But it all fed into what later on became my addiction. We graduated high school. We had our own place. We moved out together right away. That was like our main goal. Me and Laura both were different in our families. We both really were independent. We wanted to be on our own. We wanted to push away from our families. We really wanted to do everything on our own. And we did. We did as much as we could. We worked 2 jobs each to maintain a 1-bedroom apartment that was super small, and we had some problems then. She had a miscarriage. She was pregnant. We just got ready to tell her parents, and we told her parents that she was pregnant, and then not even a week, was it a week later?
I don't even know how long it was.
Not even a week later, she had a miscarriage, and then that really took a toll on her. It really took a toll on her mentally. I ended up getting a job at Modern. I was working at Modern for a while, picking up garbage, dabbling a little bit more into painkillers, caffeine pills, things to keep me awake. I always smoked pot. I always smoked pot. Got a job offer to go work at X and Stripe, to go paint lines on the road, make a ton of money. I heard the buzzer go off, and I slid my butt up, and my feet were on her bumper when she hit the back of the truck. I went flying into the cones, messed up my back really bad. Had to get multiple surgeries. This was just the start of everything. It was really, really the start of a bad downward spiral for us. We got settlements, but the money was gone so quickly because of bills. We were going downhill fast, and we had no help anywhere, really. We had no one to guide us, nothing. It was just really, really nothing. And we had no faith, nothing about God. I haven't mentioned anything about God because it was like the least thing in my head. It was just so far away. And it was like after that miscarriage, I had a thing, if God left me alone, I left God alone. That was my thing I used to say all the time, I ended up getting into building motorcycles and everything, had my own business for a while. Really going back up, building that, tier back up. Had my second surgery, and that brought me back down again. I couldn't work anymore. My back was shot. Lost my shop, lost our house at the time. This entire time, this is where the addiction starts coming in. This time, my pain pill use skyrocketed. They gave me oxycodones, oxycontins, and then they gave me morphine. Morphine was my wonder drug. Morphine was, I could do everything. It took away my bone pain. And it's hard to explain to someone that isn't in physical bone pain, like pain that's excruciating where you can't even lay or sit in a position without it hurting to a point where you're crying. So many people say, oh, it's so easy, just take some Tylenol. I wish I could take Tylenol, but when you get to a point where you're depending on a pill to sustain your way of life, it gets frustrating. You get burnt out of it. You get burnt out of taking a pill constantly. You try to find other ways to self-medicate to help yourself get better. You don't listen to anyone. You almost become a different person. You do. You really do become a totally different person because you're starting to think of ways to help yourself. And that's actually when the addiction starts. It's the addiction starting to grab hold of you. I really, really, really got bad when they gave me the morphine. There's no other equivalent to morphine other than heroin, basically, is the closest thing you can get to morphine. I never shot up, but I snorted everything you could think of. It got to a point where I was lying to my wife, lying to my kids, having my kids lie to my wife. The addiction consumed me so quickly. It really just physically changed me into a person. It rewires your brain to think you need it more than food and water. And it does. It really, really changes you. In my head, I kept thinking, I'm buying what I was prescribed. I'm not an addict. That's what I kept telling myself. The doctors aren't prescribing me enough. It's their fault. I'm buying what I'm prescribed. I'm not an addict. I told myself that for years and years and years. I used so I could work. An addict usually works so they could use. I was the opposite of that. I went to different rehabs. I was having problems with the rehabs because I would get in I would absolutely tear down their whole idea of addiction because I was so different and unique. I had one doctor tell us that I wasn't addicted to the drugs, I was addicted to the feeling of being pain free. It was hard for me to come to terms because I was an addict and I had these doctors telling me I wasn't an addict. And it's hard when you're an addict because when you want to get fixed, you go to a doctor to get fixed, but actually the doctors were making me worse. So who was I supposed to go to? I had no one else to go to. That's where I was really getting lost. I was in and out of detox. I don't know how many times. How many times did I go to detox? 5? 4 or 5 times I went to detox. Friendships. Your friendships, you lose. The first thing you lose is your friendships. I lost my best friend, Charlie. I hate it to this day because it drives me insane because I hurt him so bad, and it tears me up to know that and he's a Marine. He's a strong dude. It tears me up to even know that I bothered him and used him and set him up just to get what I wanted out of him. And as soon as I was done getting what I needed out of him, it was basically on to the next person. And it was horrible. I just felt like crap. I really did. I felt like genuine crap, and to this day we still don't talk. I mean, I really hope by the grace of God that he gives me the ability and the strength to go and talk to him, and just really know that I'm recreated into a whole new person, that I do have love and stuff for him still. And that's a big misconception for addicts too, is we're not numb. We are numb, but we're not. We still love. We're still there. We're still the same person that you guys knew growing up. It's just our priorities are so messed up. They're so backwards. Your friends go. Next was family. Me and my dad we were close, but we weren't super close. I felt like we were starting to get close, later on with the bike stuff. That was one of the main reasons why I got into the motorcycles and building stuff, because my dad, I really realized that it was getting bad was when I started hurting her and the kids. When it got to that point, that was when I really knew something had to change, something had to get better. There had to be more to life. After that 12-step program, I had another 2 relapses in between, another rehab. I went to all outpatient. I picked apart that rehab, North Point. I feel so bad for my counselor because I had her to a point where she didn't even know the statistics, but I knew the statistics off the top of my head. And I tried explaining to her that addiction touched her life in some way to become a counselor, and I felt like it was my job to tear that down and be like, well, you can't be a counselor unless you've been an addict, because that's the only way I'm going to listen to you, is if you know how withdrawal really does feel, or how the drugs really do consume your life, how I'm explaining it to you. You can't go by a textbook. But it was rude of me to do that because I didn't really know what her background was, what her family went through, or what the reason why she became a counselor was for and stuff. So I ended up, and they gave me like free reign to go to different classes. They were really accommodating me to be able to learn as much as I wanted to learn out of it. And I didn't. I used it. I faked it to make it. I literally just was getting Suboxone from them. I used the Suboxone to go get more money, and I was telling her I was clean. I was passing all these tests, and I was saving my wrappers. I was telling her everything she needed to hear, basically. And I still was using. I was still buying pain pills. When that got too expensive, I started buying heroin. to have your wife call you and crying on the phone and telling you you need to go get help was really, really, really a thing that stabbed me in the chest. That was like, it was awful. It was awful. I was ready to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself. It's just that I was so wrapped up in drugs that I didn't care. It was just like I wanted to keep blaming everyone else and not myself. So I was gonna commit suicide. I was gonna kill myself. I got to a point where I really thought the only way out, I thought everyone else would be happier and better off without me, was to just basically kill myself and just die. That was I was ready to do it, and my phone, I didn't talk to her for like 2-3 days, and my phone rang and it was her. She was calling me. She left a message. She wanted to know where I was. So I really sat down and was like thinking in my head, I was like, I gotta do something. I really gotta start changing things. And when I sat on that bench, I said to God, I said, come on, I need something. I need something. And I got nothing. Nothing again. Over and over and over again, I prayed for God to keep showing me something. And he did. He did answer it, because Laura called me that day, but I didn't want to see it. It's so easy to blame God for stuff that goes wrong, yet I never could acknowledge and appreciate him for when things did go right. I always made an excuse for something else for it. Well, this happened because I did this, not God set it in motion. I did this, I did that. It was never, okay, God, thank you for giving me this little victory. Thank you for saving my life, and thank you for giving me this. Instead, it was, okay, well, Laura called me. It's just going to go on for another day. And it did. It went on for another day. I kept going, getting worse and worse. I thought at rock bottom, I was bottoming out. And I wasn't. It was getting worse. I ended up selling our only vehicle I forged her name on a title and bill of sale and everything. And I ended up selling the car to someone else for money for a motel, because she kicked me out. Not thinking that the kids were going to have to walk to school, doctor appointments, whatever. She had to walk and ride a bike to work. I didn't care. I wasn't thinking of it. I was just thinking about, okay, well, I got enough money to get a hotel for a week and go get some heroin. This was the first time Laura actually stood her ground and really took the initiative for helping not only herself, but my kids too, getting my kids away from me. It would get physical. We had physical altercations in front of the kids. It was awful. It was bad. It was getting really bad. And the whole entire time, I was trying to still find what I lost in Laura. What I had and lost, I was still constantly trying to find every day, day in and day out. Because I was happy. I was extremely happy with Laura. I knew she was my soulmate. I knew she was my everything. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't stop texting her. Even if it was just to fight, I'd keep it in my head as well. She's still talking to me. I tried getting into different rehabs, and this is when God really started working. God started working like there was no tomorrow. It just was unbelievable. I walked out. I was walking into the back alleyway, and Patrick, a friend of mine, drove by. Now, Patrick, he's a recovered addict, believer in Christ, warrior for God, just straight up soldier. He was trying to help me even way before all this was going on. He really was trying to get me to come with him to church and stuff, and I didn't want to go. I just kept pushing it off. But I seen Patrick, and he slammed on his brakes, and his van had no reverse, so I had to walk up to him because he can't back up. So I walked up to the van, I was talking to him, and he's like, what's wrong? Because I was mad. I just told him, I said, me and Laura are going through some hard times. I got a job, and it seems like it's not enough now. She still doesn't want me back, and he ended up saying, well, you got to understand too, you're coming off of, a good 2-3 years of addiction, and you want everything fixed in a day, 2 days, thinking that you're okay. You don't even have no time clean underneath your belt. I think at that time I only had like a month clean or something. And he said, you want Laura just to forgive, forget, and just move on. And it was just like, and I did. I really did. I thought that was how it was going to work. I thought I didn't want to believe that it was for real. I really didn't want to believe that Laura was done with me 100%. And she was. She was done. She couldn't take it anymore. I was hurting her. She lost a ton of weight. Her attitude changed. She was depressed, crying constantly. I was doing the same. Like I said, I was just trying to find different outlets to find her. I mean, it was just bad choice after bad choice. It was just ridiculous. And it was just hurting her more. It was driving me away from her instead of together with her. So Patrick ended up telling me, he's like, dude, he's like, you gotta get down on your hands and knees and give yourself to Christ. He's like, give yourself to God. You got to give yourself up. He's like, you gotta surrender 100%. He's like, there's no in between. You gotta do it 100%. And I laughed because that was my thing. I just always say, with addiction, there's no in between. You're either a full-blown addict or you're clean. So I was talking to him, in the middle of talking to him, and his phone rings. Phone goes off, and he's like, hold on, I gotta answer this. So he answers it, and he's talking to this guy. They're talking about praising Jesus and stuff, and I'm thinking, in my head, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And here, he ends up hanging up the phone, and he's like, that's my buddy Matt. He's like, dude, you gotta hear his story. He's like, he was bad. He was the worst of the worst. He was a real bad drug addict, ruthless. Like, oh, and you might know him. And I'm like thinking Matt in my head, and I'm like, well, I don't know that many Matts, And he's like, Matt Vanheiter. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, Matt Vanheiter. I said, there's no way, dude. I said, I think you're thinking of someone completely different. Because now I know Matt for a long time, since we were young. We used to roll with the same people, get in trouble with the same people and stuff. And I know Matt for a long time. And I knew Matt's family too, his dad and stuff. And here Patrick was like, yeah, it's Matt Vanheiter. He's got 2 years clean, saved, sober, believes in Jesus. He's a crazy God lover. And I'm like, there's no way. He was like, yeah. He's like, you know what? Come to church with me tonight. And it was Vanguard. It was open worship, open heavens. So I'm like, I ain't got nothing to do. I was like, yeah, I'll go. So it was me, Patrick, and Mark Donahue ended up coming. And we ended up going. And we were all laughing, had a good time in the van, on the way up. We get there, and Patrick turns around. He's like, dude, and it was hot. It was hot that day. We were all sticky and sweaty and stuff. He's like, dude, you're going to get blown away. He's like, you're going to get rocked by Jesus tonight. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, We ended up going in. We walk in, and I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like, I was just floored, because I was just like, come on, what did I get myself into? There was people jumping around, these flags, going up and down. This big dude, it was actually Gordon, had this big pink flag just, waving around, and I'm thinking in my head, what did I get myself into? Gordon's awesome. I love Gordon. I talk to him all the time, and it's crazy because he always tells me too, he's blown away about the transformation too, because he remembers the day I came there. Kristen too was another one that I ended up, I became pretty close with. But so I walk in, get in there. Now we sit down, we sit up pretty close to the front. Patrick kicks his shoes off. The next thing I know, he's jumping around like twinkle toes, dancing and stuff, throwing flags around and stuff, jumping around, just praising God, praising Jesus, loving every bit of it. And I'm just thinking, sitting there with my hands in my head, and I'm just thinking, what did I get myself into? what in the world did I come into? These people are nuts. So then I seen Mark. Mark's covered in tattoos and stuff. He just gave his life to Christ, and he knew Matt too. And I seen him standing there, putting his hand up in the air and stuff. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm gonna get to a point where it's like that. There's no way I'm gonna love God that much or be that corny where I'm gonna throw my hands up into the air and just be like, oh, praise God. There's just no way. And Patrick comes running back, he's like, you feel it, dude. He's like, I know. He's like, I can feel it. He's like, I can see it. It's right around you. I know it. And ended up seeing Brandy and James came walking in, gave Patrick a hug and stuff. And I seen Patrick say something to Brandy, and Brandy looked over at me and smiled, and stuff. I smiled back, And she kept looking at me, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, this is weird. She kept looking at me smiling and stuff. And I'm just like, this is weird. So everyone was all happy, and they ended up interrupting the music, and Brandy was like, I got to release a prophetic word for someone. And she's like, Justin. And I'm like, all right. Now she's going to give me some cookie cutter story that Patrick probably told her about what was going on. She's just going to say the basic normal stuff. So she's like, Justin, God's telling me to tell you that there was a reason for everything that you're going through. So now I'm like, all right, whatever. She knows what's going on. Then she's sitting there, she's smiling, she has her hands up, and she's talking, and she's like praising Jesus. And the next thing I know, I hear a couple other people talking, saying stuff, praise Jesus, thank you, Jesus. So now they're all like getting into it, like they're all getting words and stuff. God's really connecting with them, like pushing it more and more, like they were going to make me believe no matter what. And then she's like, what do you do for work? And Patrick's like, oh, I think he's a security guard. And she's like, no. She's like, what are you passionate about? She's like, do you build? She's like, do you fix things? She's like, are you an engineer of any type? Do you work and build things? I said, yeah, I actually owned my own business for building motorcycles. I said, I'm a mechanic. I know how to work on everything. I can fix everything with my hands. Now Patrick's looking at her like, Patrick didn't even know that about me. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, that was a good guess, good guess for that. And she's like, well, God's telling me to tell you that you will get to a point back in your life where that's going to become a passion again for you, that you're going to love doing what you're doing again and helping others in fixing stuff and being able to build stuff again with your hands. She's like, almost like a carpenter. I said, oh, that's cool, awesome, getting into it and stuff, And then she started going on. She said, well, there's things God's telling me right now too about that he has a plan for you and your wife, that it's not over, that you guys are going to keep moving forward. Now I'm getting butterflies in my stomach. I can feel it in my throat. My eyes start watering up, because now I'm like, how did she even know this? I didn't even really tell Patrick what was going on. I didn't say anything about me and her separating and being done. I didn't really tell him what was going on. And she said that God's going to restore you. I'm highly favored. He's going to place a seal on you and really give you what you need to go and move forward with your family and life as a whole. So now I'm bawling. I'm crying. It's just like absolutely hit me right in the face. Just face full of Jesus right there. I was just like, wham. I called every rehab place, everywhere. They were all full. They're either full or months wait. That's got to change. That just blows my mind with that. But anyways, there's months wait. So I'm getting really down on myself again. I'm coming down. I'm just like, come on. I was on such a big high with God, and Jesus. This is Jesus again failing me, showing me that it's not there. Come on. I'm just like, please, Lord, please let something happen. Nothing happened, no rehabs, nothing. So she came home, I went to the hotel, and Patrick ended up picking us up for church, and it was down at Fort Niagara. And this was the first time I was going with them, and it was Brandy and James's church. So I ended up going with Patrick, and ended up seeing Matt Vanheiter there. blew my mind completely. These guys are really, really influencing me to believe and really commit myself to Christ. I just kept getting that presence of like, okay, God's telling me I'm where I need to be. So I sit down, they're going through their thing, and Brandy's like, I need to say something, I'm gonna call Justin up. So I come up there and she's like, I want to tell you that God's telling me you don't need rehab, you need God. That absolutely floored me, because that was like, that right there was, that was it. Devote myself to God, to Jesus, everything. I know Jesus forgives. I will do whatever I can to right my wrongs, everything. Get forgiveness from whoever, whatever I got to do, I'll do. And that was it. Ever since then, I just been on an uphill, and not even, it was a rocket. I just been skyrocketing up. It's just been getting better and better every day. From that day on, my life transitioned. That day, I was recreated from head to toe. Recreated. All these little victories that I had in line going up to this day, when I met them, went to that church that night, to Vanguard, there's just, now that I look back at it, I even wrote them down one time. There was so many little victories that I just pushed away or ignored. I didn't even acknowledge them because they were so minute, but they all collected and built up into one massive victory, and that's just me giving myself to Christ. It was mind-blowing. It was really, really such a big sense of relief and sense of gratitude, knowing that God never left me no matter what. God always had my back no matter what. There was times that I went to ECMC for detox, and they were going to send me home, but I would tell them that I was going to kill myself so I could go to the CPAP ward and sit in there for 2 days so I could get into detox, so I didn't have to deal with, just so I could try getting help. There was just so many different ways that I was trying to get help, but it wasn't working. And that's because I needed God. I didn't have God in any of those situations at all. And God really tore me down and rebuilt me from ground up. And it's exactly what I needed. Exactly what I needed. I had our landlord, I call her my adopted mom because she's been with us since Kylie was born. We always rented from her. We've had our ups and downs, and I've always been very open with her and transparent about my addiction with Luann. And I've had her in tears bawling, and she'd be like, she's very, 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 very devoted to God and to Christ. And she always told me she never gave up. Something was just telling her never to give up. I don't know how many times she won eviction notices for us to get us out in 3 days, to kick us out, and something was just telling her she couldn't do it. I mean, she even had her own companion telling her to kick us out. He was sick of hearing her complain about us, and she couldn't do it. She always just had faith and hope, and I love her for that, because it just, knowing that she never stopped praying and had so much conviction and love for me, knowing that I was going to get better and saved and God was going to do it, it blows me away. Because she swears by it. She swears that she never stopped praying. She said never stopped praying for us. And it was sad, because when I was using, it was like I tried doing everything to tear her down, to get her in trouble and stuff, and it was just, and it was hard, because I had to come out and tell her the truth, that I was trying to hurt her, and she was just trying to help us. It was sad. And it's like, it's crazy now, because this time last summer, she wouldn't trust me with a penny. This summer, I have keys to all the apartments. I'm in charge of the apartments in Niagara Falls. I pick up rent. Hundreds of dollars in rent for her. And she trusts me with, the Home Depot cards and everything. It's crazy. I just praise God for that.
Being with an addict is very hard. I never gave up on him though. There was just so much lying, so much stealing. I knew he was lying. I didn't want to believe it. Incidents where we've moved, I don't even know how many times because rent wasn't paid. After I've given him the money to go pay it, it was stupid on my part. I felt like an enabler by giving him money, thinking he was paying bills. Let's see, we lost our house. I remember the day they came and shut our electric off and said that this place has been in foreclosure, so we need to vacate. Let's see, I found mail in our closet because he would hide the mail because of bills. Final notices. I remember the one time when we were getting kicked out of the apartment, he was actually going into detox, so I ended up having to move the 3 kids and myself, and thank God for his dad to come help me and his brother to help us move. I ended up moving in with him because Justin said he had a trailer set up for us and it wasn't set up. Just constant lying, and I knew he was lying, and I didn't want to believe it. Let's see, he sold my brother-in-law's vehicle before he sold our own. So there's a strain between my family and him still, which I hope gets repaired. He sold our only vehicle. I had to walk to work, ride a bike to work, walk my kids to school. Because I always told myself if he hit me, he didn't really love me. I remember the one time we were fighting and he ended up punching the glass and he cut his arm and he had to go to the emergency room, and I just remember trying to get the hospital to keep him because I'm like, he's mentally unstable, and they wouldn't keep him. He tore me down, just with the lying, the stealing. I felt lost, didn't know where to turn to because none of my family members have gone through this. Finally, when I kicked him out, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I need to provide for my family, for my kids. I didn't even know who I was. I would pray to God that he would help me. I always have believed in God, yes. I was always, my mom would make us go to Sunday school until we were about 15 when she got really sick. I stopped going. I always believed. And then finally, when I kicked him out, I just felt like this was the right thing to do. I needed to do this. We needed time away. My friends kept trying to get me to go out. Like, this is for the better. You need to be away from him. How many years has he done doing this? My brother actually told me that the one time. He's like, enough is enough. He actually helped me with money for bills to pay. Money to pay the bills. My sister actually had to pull me out of the house because I wasn't going anywhere. I was just sad all the time. She actually physically came to the house to get me to go out. My best friend Rachel kept trying to get me to go out, and I was just like, no, I don't feel like it. When he'd take the kids for a week, I would just go to work, come home, just lay in bed, do absolutely nothing. Like, I had no desire to go out. Like, I didn't know how I felt. Like, I was sad, was I happy, what was I gonna do? But we always talked. I don't think there was a day, there was a few days we didn't talk. But I always knew. I loved him. But I believe we are meant to be together. When he talked about going to Vanguard, I ended up going with him the one time, and we were both sitting down, and we were crying, and Kristen actually came up to us.
Yeah, that was strong.
And she just blew me away because I didn't even know her, and she was just talking about our relationship. Like, I'm the arrow and he's the bow, and he's gonna release me, and he's gonna be behind me, crushing through all the walls because he's never gonna leave me. That really made me believe too. And then there was another girl, she came up and she was talking about butterflies. And that's my mom's favorite animal, or whatever you want to call it, creature. It was a butterfly. And I actually have a butterfly on my back. And then she started talking about Tree of Life, and I have a Tree of Life tattoo. So it was like weird that she was talking about these things, and I have tattoos of them. And I ended up staying home from church the one time, and Brandy texted everyone saying, oh, make sure you come, you know, someone's gonna give a prophetic word. And I've never had a prophetic word done, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just not gonna go. So I ended up staying home. Justin took the kids, and the prophetic word was actually for me. Mad that I didn't go. But I forget who it was. It was a lady, I can't remember her name. But Justin was like, you're not going to believe this. This prophetic word was for you. And I'm like, no way. Because I've been praying, you know, to get a prophetic word. I'm like, I need a sign. Give me a word. Give me a sign. Give me something. Even though he's always giving you signs, you just don't see it. So I come home, and it was written on an envelope for me. And as soon as I read it, I just started crying. It was talking about how I need to just forgive. Not only do I need to forgive myself, I need to forgive him. That was a big game changer for me. I mean, ever since that, I mean, I've been devoted. We go to church every Sunday. We go to Open Heavens and Vanguard. We go to the Lamb Workshop, and I feel like I always want to be at church now. I feel like I have another family at church. I mean, our marriage is stronger than it's ever been. I felt like we had to go through this to get to where we are now. I mean, I would change a few things that we've gone through, but not everything. But yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason, and this was our reason. My advice is, because I felt strongly not to give up on him, my advice is just don't give up. When they're ready to get help, they'll get help. Even if you have to be firm and finally kick them out, they'll find a way back. Every story is different. Depends on how you feel, what your situation is. The main thing is that you have to realize that it's not them. It is the drugs overtaking them. Yes, they have choices, but it made them a totally different person. I say just don't give up. No matter what you have to do, just don't give up.
Pray. Pray together. A couple that puts God first loves each other more than anything. That's just simple as that. Ever since we put God first, our relationships just... I always have this image of me and her walking hand in hand, but God just hugging us together. I love that image. Because it's so true. It's so true. Ever since we had God really in our lives, and we put him first, and we devote our time to the church and to helping others, and really commit ourselves to understanding the Bible, reading the Bible, applying everything to our just daily work life. It's amazing. Your life goes sevenfold. I mean, for sure.
Yes.
The power of prayer. I mean, just don't stop praying.
Yeah, power of prayer. Just think positive.
Yep, positive.
If you dwell on the negative, it's not good. Don't dwell on the negative. Think the positive.
And forgiveness. Forgiveness is key. God forgives. God already forgave you for your sins. Just keep going. Just keep moving forward. I'm so confident in looking forward to what God has laid out for us for the future. It's just amazing of how much he has done in just surrendering myself for him.